What if I told you that one of the most powerful things you can do for your mental health costs less than a month of gym memberships, requires no prescription, and most people are actively avoiding it? New cities, open roads, a weekend somewhere you've never been. Science has something urgent to say about vacations, and most people are completely ignoring it. Welcome to Psychology with Sergiu Popovici. I'm a psychologist based in Munich, Germany, and on this channel we talk about real psychology, backed by research, explained in plain language, applied to everyday life. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing, because what we cover today might genuinely change how you plan your year. Let's start with something most of us know, but rarely admit. We are exhausted, not just physically, psychologically. We wake up tired, we scroll before we get out of bed, we sit in meetings, answer messages, manage expectations, and by Sunday evening, before the week has even started, there's already a heaviness in the chest. This is not weakness, this is not laziness, this is what happens when the human brain runs without interruption for too long. And here's what the research shows. It doesn't just slow you down, it physically changes your brain. Chronic stress keeps your body in a constant state of high alert, flooding your system with cortisol, your primary stress hormone. In short bursts, cortisol is useful. It sharpens focus, helps you respond quickly, keeps you alert. But when cortisol stays elevated day after day, week after week, the consequences become serious. Researchers at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden used brain imaging to show that work-related burnout causes measurable changes in brain structure. Specifically, the amygdala enlarges, making you more reactive, more fearful, more emotionally volatile. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, or the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking, decision-making, and self-control, begins to thin. Read that again. Chronic stress simultaneously makes you more afraid and less able to manage that fear. The solution is not to push through. The solution is to break the cycle. And vacations, real ones, are one of the most effective tools we have for doing exactly that. When you step away from your daily environment and enter a new one, your brain undergoes a real chemical shift. Cortisol drops. Serotonin, your mood-stabilizing neurotransmitter, rises. Dopamine, linked to motivation and reward, activates particularly strongly in the context of novelty and exploration. But perhaps the most fascinating thing happens at a neurological level that most people have never heard of. When your brain is not focused on a specific task, when you're wandering through a new city without a plan, sitting on a beach watching the waves, or simply existing without an agenda, it activates what neuroscientists call the default mode network. This is the network of creativity, of self-reflection, of unexpected connections between ideas. It's the part of your brain that quietly reorganizes your thoughts, processes unresolved emotions, and generates insight. Most of us almost never let this network run freely. We fill every silence with a podcast or a phone. We optimize every moment. A vacation doesn't mean your brain turns off. It means your brain finally gets to do what it does best when you stop interrupting it. Now let's talk about numbers. According to a large-scale survey by the American Psychological Association, 57% of people report returning from vacation more motivated and less stressed. 2/3 come back with more energy and a more positive emotional state. A study published in the journal Applied Research in Quality of Life found something that surprised even the researchers. The peak of happiness related to vacation is not during the trip. It's before it. Simply having a vacation plan significantly improves mood and well-being for weeks in advance. Anticipation alone is therapeutic. A long-term study tracking over 12,000 middle-aged men at high cardiovascular risk found that those who took frequent vacations had significantly lower rates of heart disease and overall mortality. And a Finnish study following 729 participants measuring psychological state before, during and after a 2-week vacation found that psychological distress was at its lowest during the vacation, and the benefits persisted for approximately 1 month after returning. 1 month of measurable psychological benefit from a vacation. But here's the question I hear most often. What if I can't take 2 weeks off? What if I don't have the budget? What if life just doesn't allow it right now? This is where the concept of the micro-vacation becomes genuinely important. Researchers have found that the duration of a vacation is not the primary factor in determining its psychological benefit. What matters more is frequency. A study published in the journal PMC, titled Maximizing Recovery: The Superiority of Frequent Vacations, found that employees who took multiple shorter breaks throughout the year showed higher levels of energy, motivation, and psychological recovery compared to those relying on a single long holiday. The reason is straightforward. You don't wait for exhaustion to accumulate. You interrupt the stress cycle before it reaches critical levels. A weekend trip 1 hour from home, a different town, a forest, a lake, a city you haven't explored, provides enough contrast from your routine to trigger genuine psychological reset. You don't need a 5-star hotel. You don't need a flight. You need a real change of environment and real disconnection. Researchers at the University of Massachusetts confirmed this directly. Short, frequent vacations reduce stress more effectively than a single extended holiday, precisely because they offer repeated opportunities for recovery, both physically and emotionally. Now, knowing that vacations work, let's talk about how to make them actually work for you, because not all vacations produce the same results. And there are specific things the research identifies as making the difference. First, actually disconnect. This means emails off, notifications off, partial disconnection from social media. Your brain cannot reset if it remains in digital alert mode. This is not a suggestion. It is a neurological prerequisite for recovery. Second, choose where you genuinely want to go. Studies show that psychological benefits are significantly higher when a trip is chosen from personal desire rather than obligation. When you're excited about a destination, cortisol drops more. The anticipation itself becomes part of the benefit. Third, leave room for the unplanned. Don't schedule every hour. Free exploration, wandering without an agenda, is precisely what activates the default mode network. The best insights often come from the moments you weren't trying to have them. Fourth, put the phone down and be present. Take fewer photos. Live more of the moment directly. The natural mindfulness that happens on vacation, that spontaneous attentiveness to what's around you, is one of the primary mechanisms through which travel improves psychological well-being. And fifth, don't wait for summer. A weekend a month with a new destination, a day in nature, or even a single day without screens can sustain your psychological health across the entire year. If there is one thing I want you to take away from this video, it is this. Rest is not the opposite of productivity, it is the condition for it. Your brain is not a machine that performs better the harder you push it. It is a biological organ that requires contrast, novelty, and genuine recovery to maintain its health and its capacity. A vacation is not an escape from life. It is a fundamental part of a life that actually works. So if you've been postponing that weekend trip, or telling yourself the holiday can wait 1 more month, maybe this is the sign you needed. Plan the break. Your brain will thank you. If you're watching from somewhere in Europe, and you're dealing with stress, burnout, or simply feeling like you've been running on empty for too long, I work with clients as a psychologist, based in Munich, Germany. You're welcome to reach out directly through the links in the description below. I'd be glad to help. And if this video was useful to you, like it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Psychology with Sergiu Popovici for more research-based psychology every week. See you in the next one. In